Hello, I'm Theolyn Cortens and welcome to SoulSchool. And these are Signs and Wonders series of videos about the Archangels. So this is the second in a series of 8 about the Archangels on the lower part of the tree of life. And if you haven't seen the first, which was all about Sandalphon, then you can go back to that. Now, in my book, Working with Archangels, which was published quite a few years ago, it's still in print because it's very popular, for each chapter, for each archangel, I chose a poem, a short poem to open the chapter. So for these videos, I thought I'd share these little poems. And this poem is by Rossetti, Dante Gabriel Rossetti, who was also a painter, pre-Raphaelite painter. And this poem wasn't specifically about Auriel, as according to Rossetti, but the description in it seems to me to suit the archangel I'm about to tell you about. The blessed damozel leaned out from the gold bar of heaven. Her eyes were deeper than the depth of waters stilled at even. She had 3 lilies in her hand, and the stars on her hair were 7. So that's Rossetti's poem, or part of a longer poem. And he's talking about lilies, and he's talking about stars, and he's talking about water stilled in the evening. And all those images are very appropriate for Auriel. And Auriel's name means light of God. And the spelling of the name, Auriel, is a variation on other spellings for this archangel, which might be spelled O-R or U-R. And each of those spellings is appropriate because it's a transliteration from a Hebrew word meaning light. So however it's spelt, it always means light, light of God. Now, Auriel, for me, is the bride, the consort of Sandalphon at the foot of the tree of life at Malchut. And in order for there to be true balance in the kingdom, in the homeland, in the place of beingness, we have to have the balance of male and female. This was the idea in alchemy, that you would have a true marriage of opposites, so that male and female would not be in conflict, but would be complementary to each other. When we look at the tree of life, we see that there's an active pillar and a passive pillar. We can call them yang and yin. And we see that there's a pillar going up the middle, which is called the pillar of balance. Now, the holistic model of the tree of life means that there's an opportunity for the yang and the yin to flow between each other in an even way, a harmonious way, and to cross paths and unite every so often. And the energy from the top of the tree of life flows down, and it wants to reside in the kingdom in perfect harmony. And in order to do that, both the masculine or yang or active side of the pillar and the energy from the passive or yin or feminine side of the tree have to come into perfect harmony. So we have to have 2 archangels at the foot of the tree, not just one. And when I was talking about Sandalphon, I was describing how I met this archangel, Sandalphon, and how I was led to the tree of life in a book, and how in that book I found Sandalphon as being the archangel for the tree of life at the bottom. But it didn't make any mention of a female consort at all, not in that particular book. In later books, I discovered, oh yes, there could be a female consort. There could be a feminine element there, but it's somehow hidden. It's sometimes considered to be a manifestation of what is called divine presence, the Shekinah, who is actually at the top of the tree as the bride of Metatron. But what we're concerned with here is who is going to be at the foot of the tree with Sandalphon as his perfect consort, his perfect bride, in the perfect marriage, where male and female are balanced in the chemical wedding. Now, one thing that intrigued me when I first came across the Tree of Life and the Archangels on it was there was Gabriel. We'll come to Gabriel later. There was Michael and Raphael, and we'll come to them in future videos. But there was no sign of a fourth archangel who is often quoted in Christian literature, or what they call pseudographical or apocryphal literature, Auriel, usually spelt with a U, not on the Tree of Life. And I thought, this is intriguing. And I did a lot of meditation on this, and to keep a long story short, I came to the conclusion that Auriel is like moon energy, is reflective energy. The light of God is reflected at the foot of the tree, and that it would be totally appropriate to ask Auriel to take place and to take on a feminine and receptive role as a reflector. Now, there's a lot of interesting stuff over many, many generations of Kabbalistic tradition that relates different archangels to different Sephirot. And one of the most common ideas is that the moon is not at the foot of the Tree of Life, but the moon is at the next level up. And I'll talk about that more when I talk about Gabriel. But for the time being, I just want to make a case, because this is an experiential thing for me, but also seems to make sense, that we should look at the role of the moon in its relationship to Earth, which is astronomically a binary relationship. So they are moving around a common center, and that we should ask Auriel to be Archangel of the Moon and to be co-present with the Earth, with Sandalphon, at the foot of the tree. And although it took me quite a lot of unpicking, I did, not all that long ago, find a reference which came from the Zohar, that the moon could be seen to be a malchut, to be a reflector of the energies from further up the tree. So it's not totally against tradition to put the moon there, as far as I can tell. And that is the way I present this teaching. And my teaching, as I always want to explain, comes out of personal experience working with the tree, but also checking back as far as I can with tradition. So in one sense, I'm not entirely a traditionalist in this area, because I want to rely on direct experience. And I offer these suggestions to you to work in this way and find out whether it resonates for you. So what I'm suggesting is that you work with Auriel as a feminine moon energy, mothering energy. So perhaps like Isis, perhaps like Mother Mary, and that you consider her to be a partner for Sandalphon in a holy marriage in the kingdom, in the place, in the homeland. And if we think of Malchut as home, this is our home. Planet Earth is our home. And the moon moves with us and creates all the rhythms and patterns of time that we experience. In astrology, the moon is regarded as governing fate and fortune because she measures out time for us in a very particular way, very intimate way. And she also represents our mother in astrology. So making sure that in our personal life, we have a balance of male and female, that we know how to be nurturing and mothering and to give tender, loving care. That's the role of Auriel. The role of Sandalphon, you could say, is more masculine. It's about husbandry, about stewardship, but it's equally about care. And I go back to my images of the two of them. Sandalphon is the one with the lamb. And the lamb is very much associated with the Messiah, with the idea of shepherding, which of course is a very old concept because the shepherd as a figure in ancient biblical stories has got very profound metaphorical and archetypal meaning behind it, because a shepherd looks after creatures. And that perhaps is what human beings on this planet have been neglecting to do over centuries, especially in very recent times when the way we've treated creatures has become mechanical. It's become factory farming. So Sandalphon is asking us to be shepherds, to be stewards of our planet. Auriel is asking us to be loving, tender, nurturing, caring, mothering in a more feminine way, you could say. But the pair of them together have got this perfect confluence of masculine, feminine. The lamb and the lion will lie down together in the peaceable kingdom. And there's a great beauty there that can be created because we humans carry those archetypes. We carry both of them within us. Whatever gender that we live in this particular life, whether feminine or masculine, we carry the opposite within us. And we want a true marriage of those complementary aspects of ourselves. And so working with Auriel in particular will bring out the feminine if you're a man. Working with Sandalphon can bring out a more masculine if you're a woman. But you need to work with both of them as well. So find out more about Auriel. Find out more in my book, Working with Archangels. Find out more in the angel script, where I channel the messages from all the archangels. And even better, follow my course, Accessing Angelic Realms. I would be so delighted to welcome you onto that course, especially if you ask me to be your personal mentor and supervisor. So many blessings, and keep shining, keep working with the archangels, the archetypes of the divine energies within your own inner kingdom.